As you guys know, if you follow my channel regularly, then you will know that I am a lover of fantasy, but also I am a huge lover of classics. So I've decided today I want to show you guys some of my favorite classic books. Hi guys, it is Samantha, and today I'm very excited to be sharing with you guys some of my favorite classic literature. I really do love classic books. I haven't read as much this year as I would have liked, but I decided to give you guys a video showing you some of my favorite classic books and just what I enjoy about them, because let's just share the love for classic literature. I just love classic books. I just love the writing style, and I love that it's written from the perspective of somebody who is living it. So if you're reading a book written in the 1700s, you are seeing something written by somebody who lived it, so they actually know what it was like to live in that time period. And I just find that so fascinating, just to have this piece that still exists 300, 400, 500 years later, and it is just astounding. So I want to show you guys some of my favorites now. Also, these are in no particular order because I hate ranking things. These are just some of my favorites. So, the first one I want to talk about is The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. I love this. I read this in high school. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a hilarious piece of literature. I mean, it was just great to read a piece of medieval literature that was written from kind of the perspective of the layman. Chaucer kind of chose to tell the story through the perspective of the everyday person, and it was hilariously raunchy, and I love it so much. So I just find it to be fantastic, this story. Some of the stories are incredibly bawdy, and they're just hilarious. It's just a serious masterpiece, and I love it to bits because Chaucer, man, Chaucer was amazing. I love medieval history anyway, and so getting to read something from the perspective of somebody that was living it was just fantastic. I want to reread it soon because it's been about 10 years since I read it, 10, 11 years, so it's good. I'm due for a reread. I don't remember a whole lot that happened, but I definitely want to reread it again because I remember loving it to bits. The next classic I want to mention is Beowulf. This is an old Icelandic saga. I absolutely love this saga. I think it is fascinating reading something so old and it still is there existing, like hearing this tale that would have been told around fires, and I don't know, there's just something about it I love oh so much. I really want to get the Tolkien edition where he did an interpretation and translation of it. I think that'd be really fascinating. It's been on my list to get for a while, and I really want to get that soon. But I just like this one a lot. I think it is just a really interesting representation of the time and the tales that were told, and it is just fantastical, and I love it. My next favorite classic goes to Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. This is my favorite Charles Dickens work and is one of my favorite all-time classics. I read this last year. I absolutely adored it. I really love Great Expectations. I think it is just a great book. It's a great story. It follows Pip, who has come into some expectations. He come into a fortune from a mysterious benefactor, and I don't know, it's just a very interesting and creepy feel. I love the story. I was engrossed in it. I love all of the characters so much in this book. I love Jo. I love Miss Havisham, even though she's freaking creepy and really kind of psychotic. I love Wemmick, who is Jagger's lawyer's, his like clerk. I think he was a hilarious character. And one of my favorite things was how he separated. He kept work at work and home at home, and I just loved Wemmick's home. It was fantastic. I want to live in Wemmick's home. I just love this book so much. I know this is one that I will continue to read and reread again and again. My next favorite classic goes to Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I read this one in college, just on my own, actually, because I was an accounting major, so we didn't really read a lot of novels in accounting. But I read this one on my own during college, and I fell in love with it. I love this book so much. I love the Brontes. I love their characters. They always portray a very strong woman, and I just love that about them. I think everybody knows the story, and it is just fantastic, guys. It's like just the gothic style, and it's just haunting, and it's beautiful, and I absolutely adore it. Next classic also goes to Charlotte Bronte, and that is Shirley. I love this book. It is just a very strong feminist work. It also portrays a lot of the tensions between industrialization of England, so it has to do with a lot of the workers who were being let go due to the invention of machines and the tension that caused and things like that. Very good book. I like it just as much, if not more, than Jane Eyre, and nobody ever talks about it, but I really like Shirley. It's just, Shirley herself is a very strong character. I just think it's a very underrated work by Charlotte Bronte, and I just love it so much. This is another one that I would love to reread soon, because I read this one about 4 or 5 years ago, and I definitely want to dive back into it again with fresh eyes. My next favorite classic goes to Emma by Jane Austen. This is actually my favorite of the Jane Austen novels. I really like Emma. It's funny though, because this is an annotated version my sister got me, so it's full of different texts and history on the work as well as the history of the time. And apparently when I was reading the introduction, this was her family's least favorite of her books. But it did really well with the public, and it's one of my favorites. I just find this to be a really funny book. Emma, who is this headstrong, heiress, young woman who lives with her father, and the way she entertains herself is to matchmake her friends, usually to very disastrous results. I just really like this one. I like it even more than Pride and Prejudice, which of course is one everybody talks about, but this one is my favorite just because Emma is so ridiculous and I can't help but laugh. And just the way Jane Austen, as all of her works, goes about kind of mocking English society at the time, it's just a subtle humor I just find so wonderful, and it is very hilarious. So, Jane Austen, this is why you are queen, because you are amazing. My next favorite classic goes to another Charles Dickens, and that is Bleak House. I read this one earlier this year, and when people call it a masterpiece, I can see why. This is like a 1,000-page chunker, but it is amazing. It follows this court case of Jarndyce and Jarndyce, which has been going on for years, and basically all of the players. It has so many different intertwining plots, so many different intertwining characters. It goes between first-person narrative of Esther, which is very unusual for Charles Dickens to have a first-person female narrative, as well as switching off to an omniscient narrator where you get to see the other characters. The way that everybody is intertwined is just fantastic, and it has a wonderful ending. I love it so much. Just the way that he weaves the story, and the way you begin to see all of the threads go into place, how everybody is connected, is just so brilliantly done. This is why Charles Dickens is a master of his craft, because he is seriously a very, very good storyteller in the way that he weaves his stories together. I have to say this is probably my second favorite Charles Dickens novel, with Great Expectations being first. It was just amazing. So if you've already read some Charles Dickens and you want to continue venturing on, I really suggest Bleak House. You might seem intimidating, but I trust you, the payoff is great, because the ending, man, the ending is so good. My next favorite classic goes to a contemporary and friend of Charles Dickens, and that is With a Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is one of the first Victorian mystery novels. The Moonstone is actually the first locked room mystery novel, which I haven't read yet, but I own. I want to get to it. But regardless, this book is so good. It is a mystery surrounding this woman in white. This young man comes across this woman who seems to have escaped from an insane asylum. She's dressed in white. She ends up getting recaptured, and he basically gets intertwined in her story and helping her, and there's plot twists abound, and there's a plot against her and him, and just there's a love story, and there's just about everything you could want in a Victorian mystery novel, and it is fantastic, very well told, really engaging, and I think a pretty easy read if you are new to classics. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I do. I need to read more Wilkie Collins. I really want to get to the Moonstone soon, because I hear that one is just as good, if not a little bit better than The Woman in White. My next favorite classic goes to Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. I read this as well when I was a kid, actually. I think I was in grade school. My mom had me read it. I love this book. It is very, very sweet. There is actually a lot of very sad moments in it, but it's also very happy. I've also read Little Men, which is a sequel to this. I still need to read Jo's Boys, and I also recommend those, but this is just a very sweet book and one that I recommend for anybody who is wanting to get into reading more classics. I cannot go through a classics video without mentioning Anne of Green Gables and the entire series of books by Ellen Montgomery. Another one I read as a child. Absolutely love these books. I love Anne. I love her strong will. Her stubbornness is fantastic. Anne is just an amazing character, and they are all good. Oh, they're all so good. The next classic I want to mention is more of a modern classic, and that is the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I read this one earlier this year. This is a book that is about a demon writing to his nephew who is out in the field trying to seduce humanity and tempt them to become evil, if you will. A really, really good examination of human nature. It really makes you think. Stop and think about your actions and your motives behind your actions, which I think is something that we don't tend to think about. We tend to act really without thinking, and it really makes you just kind of examine yourself. Again, a really poignant work and just a masterpiece by C.S. Lewis, I think. The next classic that I really, really like is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I think this is really required reading for a lot of people in high school. I really, really like John Steinbeck's work. He just has a way of examining human nature and just your everyday person in such a way that it is very realistic and very well done. He just has a way of capturing the essence of humanity that is done so well. I love Mice and Men. It's a very sad story, but I still really enjoyed it. Alright guys, those were some of my favorite classic books. I really want to start reading more modern classics, so if you guys have any suggestions for me, please let me know down in the comments. As well, let me know which one of these is your favorite classics, or what some of your favorite classic books are. I actually feel like I have more, but I'm kind of forgetting some, I think. I read a lot in my 27 years of life. I was not reading classics at the age of 1, but you get what I mean. But yes, hopefully, who knows, there might be a part 2 to this video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading. Bye!